Welcome to the Social Podcast, where no discussion or debate is off limits.
Have a seat. Well. First of all, give yourselves a round of applause. You're gorgeous.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
This is amazing. Thank you all for that warm welcome. We'd like to welcome back to the show broadcaster, Olympic hurdler, and world champion, all around amazing human, Perdita Felici.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
The bob is bobbing.
The bob is bobbing.
Gosh,
I love
looking
it.
gorgeous. Well, listen, I think this first topic you're going to really love. We're going to want to hear your perspective for sure. So listen, American tennis star Coco Gauff, I don't know if you saw this, she won the French Open on the weekend. Oh, she defeated Belarus's Aryna Sabalenka, who said after the match that she only lost to Gauff because Gauff made too many mistakes. Yikes. So listen, she was criticized heavily, still getting backlash for not giving Coco the credit that Coco deserves, right? Sabalenka wrote in a social media statement that both things can be true. She didn't play her best and Coco earned the title. But does this statement now, I guess the apology, does it excuse those initial remarks she made after the match?
You guys are my kind of people. Listen, Sabalenka's apology to me is absolute trash.
Yes.
And I'll tell you why. I watched the French Open, I watched this live. She said, she made that comment with her whole chest.
Yes.
And she was not apologetic, she didn't walk back on it, and the only reason why she is apologizing now is because of the widespread backlash that she's receiving. Right? And that's, to me, those types of apology, it's not an apology, it's your PR team and everybody telling you, listen, we have a lot of endorsements and it doesn't look good, so walk it back. But I'll tell you what annoyed me even more. Listen, I watched the French Open and something that Coco did, she dominated every single match. She won the French Open clear as day that she was supposed to be the winner. And instead of her being interviewed about that win, and like, tell me about what you did, tell me about that match with that person, the first two questions were about the win, and then Sabalenka's comments were always brought in on every single interview. So it became more about Sabalenka than Coco Gauff winning the French Open. And I really hated that. And I felt like the media was being lazy because she actually, Coco gave us some wonderful stuff that we could have talked about or heard about. She actually wrote a note several times. She said, I want to win, I will win the French Open several times. I think we have a picture of the note. She wrote this several times, and this is something that, there's a photo of it. This is something she actually got from Olympic track and field star Gabby Thomas, who wrote something very similar just before the Paris Olympics. And it's a way of building up her self-esteem. Because can you imagine, this is a sport where you're by yourself for hours on the court. So I would have rather talked about that and heard about all the, the road to that success instead of hearing about her opponent losing and being a sore loser.
Listen.
I
mean, we have an Olympic athlete here on the panel. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on this.
Here's the deal. Coco outlasted her, outplayed her, out-hustled her. They were playing on clay, but Coco made her look like they were playing, like she was playing on cement. The point here is, you're saying I made so many mistakes and that's the only reason you won. It's so ungracious. Listen, I've lost. You know what you do when you lose? You take your licks, you shut up, and you go home. You don't downplay somebody else's accomplishments to lick your wounds and make yourself feel better. And I truly believe that this has overshadowed Coco's win, and we're talking about the wrong thing.
Well, that's a good point. I think that's an interesting one. Listen, I do not follow tennis, guys, at all. I did not know this story was going on. I do not know these players. So I'm fully disclosing I have no dog in this hunt. But I will say that as an observer outside of it, it's been interesting to watch how outraged people are about this. And probably the majority of people are not an Olympic athlete like yourself. They're sitting on their couch and they're watching it and they're just like, taking it in, and they probably have never picked up a racket. And I just find, and they probably also, I just can't help but wonder, like, have they never had a bad day in their life where they've said the wrong thing? Like, I'm not trying to excuse this behavior, but again, just as an outsider, like, is it possible that in the heat of the moment, she just didn't choose her words the wisest? Can we let her?
No. She does this.
A little bit?
This is what she does.
Thank
We
you.
can't.
This is
I
her
don't know.
thing.
I don't know this person. Is this a historic
Come to my
thing?
side. Come to my side,
Okay.
Cynthia. No. This is what she does, girl. We don't.
Okay.
She's nasty.
Okay, so she's nasty, but there has been a lot of bad behavior in tennis before. I'm from the days of, I remember John McEnroe, like, remember those days? And I don't know, I guess they criticize him as badly as this person is getting criticized
I think this is
right
different
now.
because you're tearing somebody else down who kicked your butt.
Okay.
That is different than having outrage on the court.
I agree with everything that everybody says here.
But?
But I want to try to provide the other side just to, as a thought experiment, okay?
Let's see.
And the thought experiment is, we are in the era of rising elite women's sports, are we not? And are we so lucky? We're so lucky. I feel so lucky that my daughter gets to grow up and know names like Coco Gauff and Sabalenka and all of these amazing women. And when you have elite athletes who are competing at the highest levels of stress, mental stress, physical stress, you're gonna say stuff because you are a hot-headed athlete. It's also the same reason why you're a champion. And so on the one hand, can I excuse her? No, she's a smart enough woman. She should know better than to speak like this. But on the other hand, are we holding women to a different standard than we do to men? Look at Nick Kyrgios. If you watch tennis, that bra should have been suspended and ousted from tennis, in my opinion, years ago. This guy trash talks the worst. Why is he still playing tennis? Look at all of these guys. He has said the worst things about opponents. So are we trying to hold women to a different standard, or are we trying to say, listen, sometimes people make mistakes, and you got to learn. I'm going to tell you something. Sabalenka's never going to say something dumb like that again. And you know what? Good.
That's true.
We'll see.
Good.
We'll see. I don't know about that. But you know what's interesting about that? They were also celebrating Federer and Nadal and all of this wonderful dynasty of men tennis players who really were friends with each other. And sometimes you won and sometimes you lost, but the respect and the sportsmanship was always there. So to say that the men are judged differently, listen, if you want to be the bad boy or the bad girl of a sport, well then stand 10 toes down and be that person every single time. And then you better back it up with a win every single time. And that's a problem.
And if you listen to her apologies or you read it, she was still making the excuses. It didn't seem humble. It didn't seem sincere. It was a PR move. And so I agree. If you're going to say it, own it. Don't turn around the next day and be like, actually, I'm sorry. No, doesn't make any sense. And so for me, I think the story really here isn't like men get it different, women. This is a thing that this player actually does. And I agree with you. She will never, ever do this again.
She will
and
not.
now I think hopefully Coco is just gracious, doesn't say anything, doesn't do anything, just whoops her ass the next time she sees her. My bad. My bad.
Success is the best revenge.
My bad.
Success is the best revenge.
All right, so let's move on to our next story. Global News is reporting that nearly 7,000 people joined Canada's military over the last year, exceeding recruitment goals and hitting a 10-year high in enrollment. So, right? Okay, you guys love that. All right, so the question is, do you understand the renewed interest in applying for the military? Mel, I'm gonna throw that one to you first.
Yeah, listen, I think we are in the midst, in the upsweep of national pride like we've never seen it in a really, really long time. And I think that's probably one of the major driving forces. In fact, I looked at the stats, and just over the last year, it's over a 10-year period we've seen this surge, but over the last year, it's increased 55% alone. So clearly, Trump has something to do with this, for better or for worse. And I think that's really interesting because there's a good side and a bad side to that. We've never been known as Canadians as being a strong military force. We've always been known as the peacekeepers. That's kind of what we do. We are entering a new era. But I don't think it's just national pride, actually. We are also in unprecedented economic hardship. And if you take a look at what the military offers, and you take a look at young people, which they are largely recruiting in numbers that they haven't seen in a long time, it is offering perhaps more certainty than just kind of trying to make it on your own in the regular world. You get a steady income, you get benefits, you get education, you get training. They pay you, and you don't, post-secondary school, it's expensive. Kids can't afford life. If you are a 20-something-year-old male today, and you don't know exactly what you want to do with your life, and you're living with mom and dad, this could be really attractive, because when you leave, look at all the skill set that you can have to offer to the world. So I think it also offers a path of certainty in very uncertain times. The question is uncertainty. What's that Trump guy and that Putin guy going to do? And what does that mean? So I'll be honest, it makes me feel very secure and good. So thank you to everybody who's signing up to serve. Thank you.
Listen, you make some really good points. You make some really good points about all the things that the military offers, but we also cannot forget things like PTSD, depression, anxiety. We've seen the stories. This is history repeating itself. We know that it's one thing to hear all of these young people are signing up, but we also know the stories of the people when they come back and how lost they can be, and how we don't even have the setup now for some of those military people to come back to get the help that they need. So as much as I love it and I'm a proud Canadian, there is a part of me that's like, oof, are we thinking about the whole story? Is a young person who would like that money and would like that stability thinking it's like, this is a great way to do that, but it comes at a very high cost.
But is the ultimate cost, but is the ultimate cost not being secured when we got uncertain times ahead?
What do you think, Bourdain?
You know, for me, I have some issues with this because I'm all about there's so much happening in the world right now. I want to see peace. That's what I want to see is peace, no more conflict, no more displacement, none of that. So I have a really hard time with this particular conversation without addressing certain things. But I will say, for me, not everybody feels the same way about the Canadian military. Not everybody feels represented. Not everybody feels welcome, right? And I think those are one of the things I would really like to see addressed. If we are recruiting, are you recruiting everybody? Is everybody allowed and able to show up exactly as who they are? And that's one of the concerns I really have with that particular institution.
That's interesting.
Yeah, you bring on, that's deep.
I mean, I've shared before that I was very surprised when my very peaceful, quiet, introverted partner expressed interest in joining the military, possibly. I don't know if he has done that online. He wasn't...
Behind your back?
It's possible. It is possible. I wouldn't be surprised. We have lots of things that, like, we see each other as independent people. He wasn't thinking that he would be in combat. He's thinking that he maybe could help out with certain things behind the scenes.
And there's a lot of roles that are not combat roles.
Exactly. Yeah. And the reason why he felt very passionate about this is that his grandfather escaped from Hungary during the revolution and nearly lost his life. And he's been reading his grandfather's memoirs, and he feels like because we've grown up in peaceful times, that it is his duty. And I think a lot of people are feeling similarly, that they want to do, what their great-grandparents and grandparents did. And I love that energy, and I also am conflicted because I also do not believe we've seen any evidence of war resulting in peace in a great way. Like, what I mean is, it's just like it's the impact that it has. Wars create more wars. They create trauma. They create more anger. And if you're listening to any really peaceful people, in the end, what they say is we need to figure out how to be peaceful within ourselves first, and then we extend that outwards. And what we're seeing right now is unprecedented times of rage, period, in everyone. It starts with our first topic. I hate to say it, but like we are so angry.
But Sabalenka deserved that.
Okay. But I'm just saying, if we don't start being accountable within ourselves, and I don't want to sound like all Pollyannish and idealistic, obviously, but we really do have to start checking within our own circles, within our own selves. That is the only path forward. And it's not that we can't have people here to maybe protect us if we were invaded. But I don't want to become a country that creates military to go elsewhere to fight or stir up wars. I just think it's a recipe for disaster.
No, it's a fair point. It's a fair point. I mean, we haven't really talked about it too much in our show, but listen, personally as a Canadian, when you see what Prime Minister Carney is doing, he's saying he's putting money into funding the military because we are in unprecedented times. Not since the Second World War has the world been in this current situation. So you have to also be prepared, because none of us in our generation, we've seen this. Our parents know war, right? We have not known times like this. And I'll be honest, I'm not worried as much about our troops going elsewhere. We got a whole northern border that a guy named Putin really likes. We got a whole north that we need to defend. And so there is the idea of combat, and then there is an idea of defense. And I would like to Canada to make sure that we're ready to defend.
And you know
ourselves.
what? You know, that just had something pop into my head. I'm like, so I would love, and I don't want to assume, but I would love to find out from the people who just applied. Did you join because you were anxious and fearful? Because that, to me, speaks differently about this, very different than your patriotism. But, we don't want to make assumptions.
Being protective. I think people who are, my opinion is, they're seeing what's happening across the border, and they're like, oh, our sovereignty, the disrespect, I'm going to defend. And they're picking it up and they're saying, I'm going to do something about this. I really think that's what this flood and this impact is.
And that's kind of new for us Canadians a little bit. A little bit.
Okay, we're going to move on to a totally different topic. This is airplane food, okay?
To lighten things up.
Nice segue. Great segue.
Lighten things up a little
Sorry
bit.
about that, guys. Okay, so according to the takeout, the dryness and low air pressure in the cabin, it apparently reduces our taste buds sensitivity by about 30%. So food and drinks don't taste the same as they do on the ground. So we want you to scan this QR code that's here to let us know airplane food, yay or nay. Studio audience, do it as well as people at home. Where do you guys stand on airplane food?
Give it to me. Put it right here. I want the dryness. I want everything.
You want the dryness?
Because let me tell you this. Part of being on the airplane is the experience, right? It's the taking the picture and then posting it. Is also when you arrive, the food in your place where you're going tastes better. So put that dry cracker and that whatever port in the wine. Put it right there. I'm all for it. I love it. Why are you looking at me like
the bad
you guys,
food?
Yeah, you look at me like I'm crazy.
Your body is your temple. I thought you're not putting that garbage in that body.
For $3.99. Who said it? Didn't you say
I said $3.99.
Put it here. I paid for it. Put it right here. I want it all.
Interesting.
Give it to me.
You know what?
Give it to me.
I would love to talk about airplane food, but I don't get served food anymore, so I don't know what it tastes like because I took 2 flights in December.
True.
I got a swallow of juice and a little mini package, like a Halloween size package of some dried pretzels. And I was like, one of the flights was 5 hours. And I was like, you better give me a couple packages of that pretzels because that's not gonna hold me. So where is the food? I'll eat whatever.
I'll take it.
I'm just not seeing the food anymore.
I love it too. I have to say, like, there's something about it reminds me of like TV dinners from like the 80s or something like that. It's also very cozy. I don't care really what it tastes like, but what I do, you know what it is? It reminds me that we're okay because they wouldn't be serving food if we were going down.
That part.
So that's why I like it.
I love that.
That part, yeah. No turbulence. No turbulence. We're good.
You know you're safe.
Listen, you're talking, you guys know I'm a terrible flyer. So when the opposite happens, you know when the cart's out and then they're like, no, and then they pull the cart back and you're like, what's happening?
So appreciate the food.
That's right, girl.
Appreciate the food.
I don't know about you. Okay, it's just us, right?
Yeah.
I always get constipated flying and traveling.
It happens.
And you know where I think it begins? With that TV dinner meal. Because
you're not alone.
It is so salty. No. If you got any heart issues, don't touch it. That sodium is through the roof.
Are we forgetting that tiny little room with that horrible, loud toilet? That's why your system's not working.
Maybe.
You don't want to go in that disgusting bathroom.
It could be that too. I just think they don't give us enough water. The food is too salty. It doesn't taste right. You don't move, so I never eat a meal. Like, I don't know about you guys. After I eat, I'm always out for a walk. So now you're going to dump a big meal. I can't move because, you know, someone's next to me falling asleep. It is a recipe for constipation disaster. Anyway, sorry, I had to share.
I love that. I feel you, girl.
Okay, so Cynthia, you asked everybody to get online and vote. I don't know, let's see, what does it say here? We had 33% said, yes, you are fans. 67% said no.
What?
No.
Wow. I feel like if we retook that poll now after this discussion, we'd have some more people on our side.
We would.
Okay,
Change some minds. There it are.
Come on over.
We are solving the world's problems here on the social. This is so hot and spicy. A parent wrote to the advice columnist at Vogue saying that she hates her teenage daughter's new friend.
Wow.
She says the girl is rude, she's always on TikTok, and she has taught her daughter swear words. Does this mom not know what being a teenager is? Anyway, should you as a parent intervene if you really don't like your kid's friends, or maybe you think those friendships are actually unhealthy for your child? What do we think?
Susie and her fast self, swearing, carrying on, is not welcome in my house. Yes, I will be intervening, okay? Because here's the thing. The company you keep says a lot about you. And the habits that you develop as a young person are the ones that carry you through life. And so I think you have a duty as the parent and the steward of a young life to teach them, and so that they understand, that they know. So I think it also depends on the age. As a 6-year-old, you're not going to that birthday party. As a 6-year-old, my daughter's 6, you can't go and play in the playground with this person. When they're 13, 14, 15, that's when I'm looking to the future. What do I do then? Because that might create a situation where they want to be closer to this person. So that's what I'm afraid of. But for now, you ain't going.
Like, that's what happens. Everyone remembers when you were dating in dating life and you bring someone home and your parents didn't like that person and they say, no, I don't want to see that person again. And then you'd end up sneaking off together. So, like, you don't want to create that kind of a dynamic where your kids really just end up wanting to spend more time. I think what I would do in this situation, I mean, assuming that it's not like dangerous behavior, really, really bad. If it's just somebody I don't like, don't trust, thinks bad influence, I would probably just plant the seeds. It's like, you know, how do you feel after you get together with so-and-so? You know, I noticed that you seemed a lot happier when you were with this other friend the other day. Is that something I'm reading? And like, even if they kind of are like, no, Mom, you didn't get it right, I think eventually it'll sink in.
You're so nice, Cynthia.
Well, the thing is, I'll just say this.
Thinking the same thing.
You have to encounter bad personalities throughout your entire life. So where else are you going to learn how to manage those relationships?
That's where I want to jump off. I mean, I'm going to take a hard stance on this, and I'm not quite there yet. So talk to me again in a couple of years. Right now, I think that my generation of parents, we are doing something fundamentally wrong.
Oh.
We keep rescuing our children. We are rescuing our children way too much. Now, when I say rescue, we are diving in before there's a real problem. A kid swearing, big deal.
I don't like it.
She's on TikTok.
I don't like it.
Big deal. You know, we do have to take a cue. We do, because it sounds like you're maybe hearkening back to our parents' generation.
Yes.
The way my parents raised me was they were so busy working to put food on the table. We raised ourselves half the time. Did they care? Of course they cared. But you know what they also let us do? Screw up. There was a lot of times when you didn't have phones. We had to actually run off and play with friends. And you know what you get to do? You get to learn by making mistakes, by falling on your face. I think by 14, 15, 16, there's a time when you have to realize, you stop trying to rescue them from everything bad. You have to learn some lessons by yourself.
Listen, that is so interesting to hear, because I'm hearing my mother's voice, because this may be a cultural thing, but if my mother didn't like one of my friends, she told me directly. She's like, you see your little friend Susie? Don't bring her back in my house. I don't like her. And what she was doing was saying, you're a child and you don't have discernment yet. You're just so happy to have a friend that you're missing all the cues. But as an adult who's in charge of taking care of you, I'm picking up on those cues.
How did you learn the discernment?
Over time. But that took...
But with some bad friends?
No. With experience, with
all
life.
Your friends were great.
Wait. With life, no, don't do that. Don't do that. With life experience, but at a certain age, there are certain things that I wasn't going to see, and my mother was concerned about making sure that I was with the right group of friends. And if someone's behavior, if they were rude, if you come in my parents' house, you don't say hello, you're opening fridge. My mom's like, no, that's not acceptable, and tell your little friend no. And you know what? It was awkward, but in hindsight, I'm glad that they did that, because it does take a little bit of time. Because one thing I know I didn't have when I was that age was the confidence to say to a friend, you know, you make me feel really uncomfortable.
To stand up for
I don't
yourself.
like when you make me do that. I didn't have that. So my mother was like, you see her? There's something about her. Just keep an eye on her. I don't like it. Don't keep her out of the house. And I don't have a problem with that. And I don't think anybody else should. But it's interesting that this mother today is grappling with it, whereas I came from a time where my mom, all the aunties in our family were very direct.
Yep. Don't do it.
Very direct.
Perdita, we love having you here every single day, but you're also here.
Thank you.
Because I don't know if I didn't know this. I don't know if our viewers know this. It is the second annual UN International Day of Play. So what is today about, and why are you so passionate about it?
I am so happy about this day because it really allows us to celebrate the power of play. And I know in Canada sometimes it's like, well, why do we have to care about play? But you have to think about it in terms of what play does for children. And right now there are around 160 million children around the world who don't play. They work. And that is what their life is. If you think about what happens in conflict zones, war zones, children don't have that ability. And so this day really is about celebrating that. And I remember being in Benin, Mali, and Liberia on behalf of Right to Play, and in a little town called Clara Town. And this is Mali. But essentially, there was a game that they were playing, and it was a co-ed game. And what happened in that community is girls weren't allowed to do sport. And they saw me as a world champion show up, and they thought I would have a beard and look like a man, because that was kind of the stigma. Yeah, that was the stigma. But basically what happened is the boys and girls would play on the same team, but only the girls could score a point. And so it allowed them to understand the rights between girls and girls are equal to boys, and things about, you know, you're the mosquito when you play tag, so you don't want the mosquito to touch you, and that teaches you about malaria or washing your hands. And these children take these games and this play, they take it back to their communities and to their homes. Now the entire household is learning these things. So I'm really passionate about this day. I'm passionate about talking about it and everything else, obviously. But to me, this is something that I'd never want to take for granted for my little one and others.
Thank you. All right. If you want to learn more, it is righttoplay.ca. Perdita, thanks for coming back.
Thank you. Always fun. Thank you.
Subscribe to the Social Podcast so you don't miss a fiery debate. Until next time, socialites.